everyone. I'm Christy Bain, Regional Manager in Puppy Raising Services, and we are here today to talk about and watch some troubleshooting. So troubleshooting is a really important thing for people to get to watch. Our daily calendar challenges sometimes involve a little bit of troubleshooting, but it's hard to get one puppy to show all of the issues that all of our particular puppies might be struggling with. So one really good way to learn is to watch people with puppies who have the same issues that your puppies have being worked with. And that's what we're hoping to do today. So we're going to have some dog distraction. We'll have some excitable greeting of people. We'll have some resistance to nail clipping. We'll have a dog with some little bit of discomfort on the stairs. And we'll have a little spot on how to fit a Martingale collar should that be approved as a tool for your puppy. Before we get started, I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, big thank you to those of you with puppies who allowed them to be filmed for purposes of this training. It's very brave and very much appreciated that you guys make your puppies available to help other raisers improve their skills. So if anybody has a puppy and they're working on a problem, and you would like to contribute to other raisers' knowledge and problem-solving ability, please don't hesitate to let your regional manager know that you don't mind if your puppy is filmed for troubleshooting. We cannot thank you guys enough for letting us do that. Second, actually this really should be first, I want to remind everybody that not everything that you'll see in this video is appropriate for your particular puppy. It was hopefully appropriate for these puppies in these situations, but just because we did it and it worked here does not mean that it's the exact right thing for your puppy. So if you're not sure, then you should always ask your area coordinator and or your regional manager. You can say, I saw this in troubleshooting. Is this something I can try with my puppy? And they will say yes or no. But there's always reasons that we use one technique or another with a particular puppy. So just make sure that you've talked to somebody about this before you start troubleshooting on your own. Another thing you'll notice is that the length of the training session for most of these dogs is somewhere between 5 minutes and 10 minutes. And that really is probably the ideal length of time for a targeted session of troubleshooting, just because you'll see another thing you'll see in this video is that troubleshooting can be a little stressful on the puppies. You will see some signs of stress, which I consider pretty mild and not necessarily something to worry about. A lot of us experience stress when we're trying to improve some area of performance. So it's not that they can't ever experience stress. It's just that we don't want to pile on stress to the point where it becomes counterproductive. So you can watch for signs of activation in the puppies. So moving a little faster, taking treats a little harder, panting hard. Those are things that show maybe they're finding this training a little bit stressful. And that is pretty common when we're working on issues that are challenging for a puppy. So don't be alarmed, just be aware, and be aware that that's a reason why these kind of sessions are better kept short rather than long. Short and frequent rather than long and occasional. Okay, with that having been said, let's move on to troubleshooting. So first thing we're going to look at is dog distraction. The reason we're going to look at that first is because that is certainly one of the most common issues that we face as puppy raisers, and the reason for that is that dog distraction is actually very natural for dogs. They don't think of it as dog distraction. They think of it as doing what dogs do, which is being social with other dogs. So they have very strong instincts to be social and to say hello to other dogs and to interact with them. And what we want them to do, pay attention to us the whole time, is very challenging for many of our puppies. In fact, I'd say that's probably the most common distraction that I do one-on-ones with puppy raisers with, dog distraction. I don't know, people and small animals are also right up there, but super common and not necessarily a thing that is wrong with your dog if it's dog distracted. It's more like dog distraction is kind of normal. It's kind of like the factory setting for dogs, and we're the ones that have to adjust it. We have to put a lot of work into it. So if your dog is dog distracted, A, you are not alone. B, there's nothing wrong with your dog. It's just being a dog, and we have to give it reasons to be more like the kind of dog that we want for our program. So before I start, we're just going to talk about a couple of things. What I want you to look for in this video So the first one, actually these videos, I have more than one. The first one is distance. You cannot work dog distraction. You can't work any distraction if you can't control distance. If you're so close that your dog cannot control itself, then you are not going to be able to make any progress. You have to be at a point where the dog sees the other dog, but is able to refocus on you, even if it's difficult. So in these videos, when you see the dogs sort of lunging or pulling towards the other dogs, what that tells you is I did not gauge my distance properly. It's not that big a deal. You can always back up and get further away, but sometimes when you're starting with the dog you're not super familiar with, then you won't always know what the distance is that you need to be at. But just try to pay attention to it, because if you get too close, then your dog lunges and then you lose a little bit of training ground. Handler energy. Handler has to give information to the dog constantly. So you'll see, I'm never really just kind of letting the dog hang out on the end of the leash without interacting. I'm always doing something. Sometimes I'm touching them, sometimes I'm marking them and rewarding, sometimes I'm moving them further away, but there's not really any time when I'm just letting the dog do what it wants, because if I don't fill the space in the dog's head with something, it's going to fixate on the other dog. So when you're working dog distraction or any kind of distraction, you're probably going to break a sweat. It is not a low energy activity. If the dog lunges after you mark, this happens a lot. So people will use their marker word correctly when the dog has not lunged, and then as soon as they say yes, it's almost like the dog thinks of that as its opportunity to lunge. Like, okay, she said yes, now I'm going to get the dog. You still have to feed. As much as that might grate on you because you're thinking, oh, he just went after the dog. Aren't I going after the dog? No, you're not. You're delivering a treat after the yes word, which is your contract with the dog. If you say yes, you have to feed. If you say yes and don't feed, then your marker word becomes less valuable. So sometimes you have to shove the treat right down in their face. If they're looking at the other dog, sometimes you have to put it right up to their nose and then move their head away with the treat. You'll see that a few times in these videos. Your end goal is to be able to get closer to the other dogs than you were at the beginning of the session, not to get all the way up next to them, or possibly improve the dog's ability to refocus on you when it's distracted. So neither of the dogs in these videos are dogs that I had a strong working relationship with before filming. I was figuring them out, they were figuring me out, and they were not perfect by the end of the session, but hopefully their ability to return their attention to me did improve throughout the session. All right, here we go. We're going to look at our first video. This is a great park, by the way. It has everything: joggers, children, dogs, squirrels, alligators. I think you can actually see an alligator in the background of this one if you look carefully. Okay, we're working on dog distraction, and I see there's a dog coming towards us on the path. So what I'm going to do, oh, there's a squirrel too, perfect. So we also work on squirrel distraction. So what I'm going to do is when he sees it, I'm going to mark and reward him before he pulls, and then I'm going to come back this way towards the camera. Yes, and the reason I marked him there is because he saw it, but he didn't pull. So I don't know whether he was looking at the squirrel or the dog, but it doesn't matter because he likes both of them. So whichever one he was looking at, not pulling towards, I'm going to reward him. Also, because the path is really narrow, I don't think he could pass successfully on this path right now. Yes, good boy. So I'm going to keep him on the grass. Ready? Let's go. Let's go. So I'll touch him right here. Let's go. Hey, let's go. Yes, good boy. So if I can't get any further closer to it, then I have to get further away. Let's go. Yes, good. So we'll kind of do some parallel walking. Me on the grass, and the dog on the path. Fuzzy, hey, Fuzzy, let's go. Yes, good. Yes, good. So if he does that, then I'm going to try to move him further with my treat delivery. Yes, that was a bad yes. So that just means I'm too close. And if they do this, then sometimes you just have to move them away. You can either start walking and let's go. Good boy. Yes. Or I could have emergency lured him. This is our first time working out here, so I wasn't exactly sure how close I could get. But I'm going to put the collar up just a little bit. And I'm going to walk towards the path. Let's
go. Yes. Good boy. Drop it. Go. Good boy. So let's see which is easier to get, the squirrel or the dog. We can work on that dog. So I'll just go back towards the dog. Nope. Yes. Good boy. Even if he pulls after I yes him, he still gets the treat. Oh wait, there's another dog up there. We'll go with that dog. Ready? Let's go. Yes. Good boy, Clancy. Oh. So he sees another dog. It's all the way up there, but I can tell he saw it because he raised his ears and pulled towards it. So that means back here is where we need to start working on it. If I go up there, I'm 100% sure he's going to pull. So we want to keep him from getting too close. So we're going to work back here. And if the dog gets closer, I'm going to move out there. I learned from my last time. Ready? Yes. Good boy. So what I rewarded for there was not lunging. He saw it. He didn't pull towards it. So even though he was, let's go. Even though he was looking at it, he wasn't pulling. Yes, good boy. Yes, good. Now I'm kind of guessing how far I have to be from that dog. Can you film that dog and show where it is? So for, that's good enough. Now film me again. So some dogs can sit and watch as a dog goes by, and for other dogs that ramps them up too much if they sit and stare. And I think he's one that will be ramped up too much if he sits and stares. Yes. So I'm going to reward him and move him away as I get the treat. Good boy. Good. Good job, buddy. Okay, let's go. Yes, good boy. Good job, Lassie. Okay, so that one was better than the last time because I learned that in a new place to him with a new-ish handler me, he needs to be further away from the dog distraction than he was the first time. So I was able to keep him under the threshold and keep him from lunging. And also, he does better if I reward him when he's just looking, and then I move him away with my reward delivery. Okay, you can turn off the camera. Now we look for another.
Okay, so that was dog number 1 and 2 on that morning. So we're now going to move to the next dogs. I can't actually remember if that was next. We have 1 dog or 2 dogs. We'll see. Same dog, same morning.
Good boy. There you go. Let's go. Attaboy. Good job, Francie. Good boy. Good boy. Good job.
So in this one, I'm doing one of my favorite techniques, which is walking as close as I think I can get without him lunging, yesing him and turning him 180 degrees and walking back the way we came, then turning around, coming back and trying to get a little closer to the dog each time. So I do this all the time. It's very effective because the turning around breaks their focus on the dog, and the repetition helps them remember what's expected, so they can usually get a little closer. I know I'm not going to get all the way up to the dog, but remember the goal for each session is to get a little closer to the dog each time.
Good boy. Let's go. Let's see. Hey, let's go. Good. Good boy. That's a good boy. That was really good. Hey, let's go.
The dogs are actually behind him in that little pink stroller, all the way down the path off to the right.
Adam. All the way. Let's go. Good. Let's go. Yes. Good boy. Hey. Okay. Let's go. Nancy, let's go. Yes. Good. Yes. Good boy. Good job. You want to go to a little bit? Yes. Good boy. Yes. Good boy. Good boy. Let's go. Here, keep going. Good boy.
Okay, so we're not perfect by the end of the session, but did we make progress? I think we did. He's doing less lunging towards the other dogs, and he's coming back to me more quickly. And these also, most of these were filmed just when we were just starting to come out of lockdown. So they really had not seen a lot of dogs in a long time, nor have they really seen that many people other than their own families. So it takes time to build a working relationship with them. And as long as we're making some progress, we're going to call that a success. All right, we have another dog distraction with a different dog coming up. Whoops. There we go. So we'll watch, we may not watch this whole thing because I think I'm getting a little close on time.
Okay. Toby. Hey, Toby. Let's go. Hey, girl. Okay, so we're here to work on dog distraction. We have somebody with a dog out there way out the camera range. I don't know if you can see her or not. So what I'm going to do is I will start having Toby approach, and then I'm going to turn around and walk the other way when I feel like if we go any further, she would lunge. And my goal is going to be to see if I can decrease the distance between me and the other dog, at which she can't control herself. Toby, yes, good girl. So every chance I can get to re-engage with her and get her attention, I'm going to take. Let's go. Good girl. Toby, let's go. Yes. Good girl. So even if she pulled towards the dog after I yes, it doesn't matter. It only matters that I caught her before she did. So as long as my yes is out of my mouth before she's pulling, then I'm still going to have the effect that I want, right? Let's go, Toby. Let's go. Good girl. Let's go, Toby. Yes. Good girl. Good girl. Also, if they kind of zone out after you yes, you can see what I did there is I kind of scratched her butt and it turned her back around to me to get her treat, like I did there. I really like the butt scratch when they're not paying attention to me. Let's go, Toby. Good girl. Let's go. Yes. And then go that way. There you go. Let's go. Come on, Toby. Let's go. Good girl. Let's go. Toby. Where are you going? A moment? Yes. What's she looking at over there? I thought there might be another dog, but there's not. She looks like she had caught scent of something. I don't know what it is. Toby, let's go. Atta girl. Nope. Toby. I'm going to put the collar up just a little higher on her neck. It's slipping. Good girl. Now, she would be better in an infinity collar, but we're trying to work on her not in an infinity collar. She's a little bit older. Let's go. Let's go. Hey. Toby, sit. Toby, sit. Good. Let's go. Yes. Could you come a little bit closer, Alex? Thank you. Let's go. I think Toby's looking for her mom who's off camera. Toby, let's go. Yes. Good girl. Right here. Good job. Shake off. Toby, let's go. Yes. Good. Good girl. Good girl, Toby. Yes. Good job. Ready? Let's go. Good girl, Toby. Let's go. Yes. Good girl. Good girl. I always back them up into position because it's easier for the next approach. Go. Toby. Toby. Oh, yeah. Yes, good girl. Alex, can you bring him closer and I'm going to stay on the concrete instead of going out there? Toby. Let's go. Toby. Let's go. Yes. Good girl. Good. Toby, sit. Toby, think. Toby, sit. Good. Toby, down. Atta girl. Yes. Good job. Ready? Let's go. Yes. Good girl. Good girl. So that time, even though she kept going, she did turn around and she kind of put one ear back to me. So she wasn't just thinking get to the other dog. Although she's still thinking get to the other dog, but no big deal. Good girl. Let's go. Yes. Good girl. She still gets a treat even though she pulls because I said yes. If I didn't say yes, then she wouldn't get the treat, but if I did, she has to get it no matter what she does afterward. Good girl. Wait, let's go. Yes, good girl. Here. So that yes was kind of debatable whether it was good or not. She wasn't pulling toward him, but she wasn't paying attention to me either. Okay, let's go. Yes! Good job, good girl. So that was smart. I should have done that sooner because I put something between her and the dog, so that made my job easier, but also made it easier for her to pay attention to me. So setting up for success, which is what we always should do, so I'll try that again. Oh. Yes, good. Good job, Toby. We'll try going the other way. Oh. Yes, good girl. Good girl. Let's go. Good girl. Good job. Yay. What a good job. Yes, good girl. Good. So sometimes you have to expend a lot of energy to make yourself more interesting than the other dog. It's hot, especially on this mask, but I've got to be interesting because if I don't do anything, I'm certain she's going to pull me towards the other dog. Ready? Let's go, Toby. Atta girl, good. Yes. Good girl. Right here. Good girl. Let's go. All right, so now we're going to switch and see if she can hold position while Mason comes closer to us. So let's see. They're in a heel. Toby, heel. No, that's not heel. Okay, can you come one step closer, Alex? Yes. Try again. Yes. Again. Yes. Good girl. And onto the slab. Yes, good girl. And take one step up and put him in a sit or a down, either one. Yes, good job. Now we're going to do a little obedience with her. Toby, down. Good girl. Toby, let's go. Yes, good. Good girl. So that one I got the yes out of my mouth almost before she moved because I didn't want her to get enough momentum to go up to Mason. Toby, sit. Yes, good girl. Mason, you're such a good boy. Feels like a deer, doesn't it? I think you're a good boy. Go, Toby. Yes. Good job. Okay. Toby, let's go. Yes. Girl. So sometimes people say, what do I do if she doesn't care about my treat? You have to make her care about it. So if you have to go back with her and like push her back with her treat like this, yes. If you have to like move her like that, then you can. But if you're saying yes, your dog's out at the end of the leash, what that means is just that she wants the other dog so bad that at the moment, your reward is not as rewarding as interacting with the other dog. Right? Right, Toby? Yes. Good girl. So you always have to decide what is your goal for this particular training session. For mine, I think it will be if we can walk from that side to this side without her pulling towards Mason at a distance of, a little closer than I am right now, but not too much closer. So I don't think we're going to get all the way next to him on this particular work session. Right, Toby? Ready? Let's go. Yes. Good job. I might be wrong. Maybe she will. Toby? Toby, let's go. Hey. Yes, good. Good girl. Good job, Toby. Ready? Let's go. Yes. Good girl. Ready? Ready, Toby? Toby, let's go. Yes. Good girl. Very good. Good job. Ready? Okay, sit. That was a lame hand signal on my part. I was like, sit. Good girl, Toby. Down. Very good girls. Good response to verbal, no hand signal. Stay. Yes. Good. Do it again. Stay. Down. Good. Stay. I know you can do this. Down. Stay. Stay. Good girl. Stay. Down. Get back in the ball. Stay. Who knows why she's doing that? I don't know her. We haven't worked together before, or we did, but it was months ago. So sometimes they do things with a new handler that they don't do with their normal handler. It's not that big a deal if she does that. She sits, or she gets up down into a sit. Yes. Good. Here. Yes. Get stuck. Good. Stuck. Go. Does she know close, Teresa? She does close, yeah. Ready? Close. Ready? Close. Good girl. Yes. So she's still interested, but her level of interest has decreased for sure. You can tell by her ears, they're not really perked up. They're relaxed. Yes. Good girl. Good job. And I would say this is probably a good session for this dog. Toby. Toby. Hey. Toby, Toby. Let's go. Come on. So I let her get too close, and I should have stopped when I should have stopped when I said this is a good session. I should have gotten and walked away, but I didn't, and this is what happened as a result. So.
Okay, so again, did we make progress? Yes. And maybe it wasn't quite perfect, but I thought she made quite a bit of progress. She was able to settle down with the other dog close by, and maybe I waited a little bit too long, which I've been guilty of doing a lot of times in my dog training career and probably will continue to be, although I do try not to be. Okay, we're going to move on to our next subject, which is excited greetings. This is probably the second biggest thing that I get asked to help people work on. Especially with regard to people coming to the house, ringing the doorbell and coming inside. So what you're going to see in this next video, which in this video, by the way, the puppy's raiser, Gina, is working with the dog, and I do have her permission to use this video. Thank you very much, Gina. We're working on excitability when someone enters. In this case, enters the lanai, not the house. We like to play this game a lot in meetings. Anybody who's been in my meetings has probably played this game. What we're doing is changing the meaning of the cue of a person approaching, because when we start, the person approaching means to the dog, you're probably going to get petted. And that's because they have been petted by people approaching them a lot. So we're trying to change the meaning of the cue of the person approaching from you're going to get petted to you have a good chance of a reward if you refocus on your handler instead. This needs to have a gradual progression. I tell people it's like turning up the dial on the stove. So you start on low and you go up really slowly. You don't run up to the dog going, hi, how are you? Oh my gosh, what a good dog. You take one step in their direction with your eyes looking somewhere else and don't say anything. The distractor is as important as the handler in this game. So If you're going to practice people approaching and practice distraction, you got to practice with somebody who will take advice from you and who will listen and do what you ask them to do. You can't just have somebody who says, oh, we're going to distract you, and runs up and pets the dog and lets them get excited. That is not training. In fact, that's the opposite of training. It's actually untraining. Our end goal is that the dog will voluntarily look to their handler when a person approaches to pet. And this may take thousands of repetitions, but it actually does work. I didn't used to believe that it did, but it actually does. Just that you have to do it a lot to have that happen. But if you guys start laying the foundation now in puppy raising, then their trainers can continue it when they go into formal training. So let's watch Liberty.
Okay, so we go out here. Come in. Okay. Oh, your dog is really cute.
Oh, thank you.
Can I say hi to her?
Sure.
Okay.
Great.
Hi. Oh my gosh. Oh, you like to jump, don't you? Okay.
Oh, come here,
So-
Liberty.
What we just demonstrated is what you shouldn't do, and it's not that she doesn't know what to do. I told her to do that and let her go so that we can have a nice demo for the camera. But what we're going to do is try to counter condition Liberty, but to my approach, meaning she's likely to get a reward from her handler, instead of having my approach mean she's likely to get to jump all over me. So to do that, I'm going to step progressively closer to her, and every time I step closer to her, when Gina sees Liberty look at me and Liberty doesn't pull towards me, she's going to mark and reward her. And I'm going to try to get up to petting her head. We'll see. You don't always get up to that in one training session, but we might if we're lucky. So what I'm going to do, I'll go back here and I'll take one step closer at a time. And every time I step closer and she doesn't get up, mark and reward.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And if I need to, I'll back up and we'll start again.
Okay.
All right. So, starting right now. Yes.
Yes.
Good. Anything is okay except pulling towards me.
Okay.
Looking at me is okay.
Okay.
Raising her ears is okay. Here we go again.
Yes.
Good. And it's better to mark sooner rather than later, because sometimes if you wait a second longer, they're going to go, whereas if you mark them immediately, they wouldn't.
Okay.
And that's true in almost every type of distraction. Marking sooner is always better than marking too late. Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
I'd even mark a little sooner than that.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, good. Like as soon as you see her look at me and see that she wants to go, her ears kind of go back and she starts to wag. That's what you mark.
Yes.
Good. She's getting it.
Yes. Yes.
Good. That's my fault. I didn't tell you when to mark. So you can mark either right before I touch her or like as I'm touching her. And our criteria is going to be, because she will remain in a sit, we'll have our criteria be stay in a sit. She can wag, she can lick, but we don't want her to get up.
Okay.
So if she's sitting, even if
Good
she's
girl.
distracted, still mark her reward.
Okay. Yes. Good. Yes.
As I poke her in the eye. Sorry, Liberty.
Oh. Good girl. Yes.
Now, I don't know if you can see that, but I could see it. She looked at me and she did a little, I want to, and then she looked back at Gina. So that means it's working, because the meaning of me approaching is changing from I'm going to get to jump to she's going to give me a reward. And you'll see it again, so watch her closely. Oh.
Yes.
Did you see that? It was right when she curled her ears at me and then she looked at you. So we're doing it. That's good. We're coming from another direction.
Yes.
Good. That was right away. And again, I'm going to come up to her. Her head's going to turn. She's going to look at me, but she's going to look back at Gina. Hey, hey, hey.
Yes.
Yay, good. That was super good.
Yes.
Good. Hi.
Yes.
Good. A lot of people don't want to mark when they see that the dog's looking at me. That's okay. It's not perfect. But if they're looking at me and they're not going, that's exactly when you want to mark, because you know that the devil on their shoulder is saying, jump. And the angel's like, no. So reinforce the angel. Don't let the devil self-reinforce.
Yes.
Also, if you're the distractor when the dog is eating, then back off. Like, don't continue up in her face while she's chewing, because if you're petting her while she's chewing, she's going to swallow and then jump on you. So we want to make it really clear to the dog what they're getting rewarded for.
Yes. Because she's looking at me, right?
Yep. Okay. And she doesn't even have to look at you. All she has to do is not pull towards me.
Yes.
See, look at that.
Good girl.
So that time I was even petting her head. That time I was even petting her head and she's still looking at Gina. This is really fast. It does not always go this fast. And she doesn't even, let's see if she can do it in a, oh, she sat, that's okay. I was going to say, let's see if she can do it standing, but she sat, it's fine. Oh, look at this stand. Hi.
Yes.
Good. I would have even done it sooner than that.
Okay.
She's being really good because she's like, but when she looks at me and there's a second where she's standing and looking at me, that's what I would reinforce.
Yes.
Good. That timing was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. You can raise the criteria for time as you do more of these exercises,
Okay.
but on the first day, I would not go longer than like a short second.
Okay.
Hey.
Yes.
Good. That's good. That was a good choice to mark. A lot of people wouldn't, because they would have said, oh, but she's excited. Yeah, but she's not jumping and she's not pulling.
Yes.
Good.
Good girl.
Oh, what a good girl. Oh my gosh. See that? What a
Girl. Yes.
Instant. What a good girl.
Yes.
So that's sufficient for a short demonstration, but the more you do this in the more places, the better it's going to be. Thank you so much, Gina,
You're welcome.
for being
Thank
willing
you.
to be on camera. You did fantastic, and so did your excellent dog. So
Thank
let me
you.
just go turn this off.
Okay, so, well, before we talk about nail clipping, let me just point out that I know some of you are probably thinking, oh, my dog will do this in setups, but she will not do it in the real world. She knows when it's a setup. That's true, but you have to do a lot of setups before it becomes a real world reaction. And when you're in the real world, you have to watch for it when people are at a distance. So when you see somebody approaching you from 30 feet away and you see your dog look at them, that's when you have to mark and reward. And if you need to, you can say to the person, you can actually say like, oh, I'm sorry, she's in training, and hold up your hand. A lot of times that's just stops people in their tracks. And then you can continue to mark and reward as your dog looks at the person while they're talking to you. So you can do it in the real world, and it will happen in the real world, but the number of reps you need is a lot, and it can be overwhelming to some people. I don't mind doing it because I know what the end result is going to be. So just be patient. If you say, I've been working on this for months and my dog will still sometimes jump on people, maybe you need a few more months of working. It is not the quickest thing, but it is very effective. Okay, nail clipping. Talked to a lot of people recently about the bars open, bars close game for nail clipping. This is really effective for a lot of our puppies. A lot of our puppies, nail clipping is not their favorite thing. This is a great game to play with puppies who are either squirmy or they have just mild resistance to foot handling or nail clipping. If you have a puppy that's terrified and panicky when you try to handle their feet, this game is not for them. A puppy that's that fearful is probably not even going to take treats. So we need a different desensitization program for them, and you should talk to your AC or your regional manager about how to handle those. This is for what I think of as our average puppy who is squirmy and maybe a little bit mouthy and a little bit excited and tries to pull away, would rather not have their nails clipped. So that's for this puppy. What you need 2 people, a clipper and a feeder. You need something that the dog can lick. I usually use peanut butter just because that's something that we use in peanut butter Kongs. It's something that we can use, and it's something that most people have in the house. And you need a toy for the dog to lick the peanut butter off of. So we use a Nylabone just because it's really easy to stick down in the dog peanut butter jar and cover with peanut butter. So in this game, the bar is open. When I say the bar is open, I mean the dog's able to lick the peanut butter only when the clipper is clipping. and the bar closes, so the peanut butter toy gets taken away when the clipping stops. So by having the bar open during the nail clipping, what we want to do is get the dog to make a positive association with nail clipping. Is what they think is, oh, okay, when you're clipping, then I get to lick peanut butter. And when the clipper goes away, the peanut butter goes away. When the clipper comes back, the peanut butter comes back. So over time, this can be very effective. Now, you may not be able to clip right away. You may just have to start with foot handling. So in that case, when the feeder brings down the toy with peanut butter on it, then you can just pick up the dog's toes and start spreading them apart or squeezing them lightly, and not actually take out the clipper for a few sessions. And one last thing, you should use a little bit of light restraint during this game. But what I mean by that is don't have the dog out in your living room with no leash on, because they're just going to probably spin their body around and try to get their feet away from you so they can continue to lick the peanut butter. Light restraint, that would be something like kneeling on the leash or doing it in the laundry room or sitting the dog between your legs so that you're not like locking it in place, but you're also not giving it complete freedom to just take off and try to evade you while you're handling the feet. So we're going to do this with 2 dogs and see the results. All right, we're going to demonstrate bars open, bars closed for dogs that don't like nails. I have Pip here. She doesn't like having her nails done. So for bars open, bars closed, you need a clipper and a feeder. So I'm going to be the clipper. Will's going to be the feeder. What the feeder does is the feeder takes a Milo bone or something else that can be dipped into a jar of peanut butter or something else that the dog likes to lick. And as soon as the clipper is ready, not yet, as soon as the clipper is ready to start clipping, the feeder brings down the food and starts feeding. And then after a couple seconds of clipping, then the feeder is going to take away the food and the clipper is going to release the foot. So what we want the dog to do is make an association between getting clipped and getting fed, so that hopefully the dog will start looking forward to us resuming the clipping, because that means it's going to get some more feeding. All right, so here we go. 1, 2, 3. Good girl. Whoops. Helps if you turn the clippers the right way. Okay, stop. Bar is closed now. The bar was open. Now it's closed. Okay, we're going to open the bar again. 1, 2, 3. Bar is open. Good girl. Good girl. See if she'll go back to the bone. Bar is closed. Okay, we'll do it one more time. Good girl. 1, 2, 3. Bar is open. And do the dew claw too. Stay. Bar is closed. Okay, so if I have a dog that doesn't like nails, I'm probably only going to do 1 foot at a time. And it also helps if you have the dog lightly restrained. Come here, Pip. Come here, Pip. Away from the peanut butter. So if you sit, I could like to hold him kind of right between my legs. So I've got my knees on either side. This wouldn't work for a dog that is terrified of nail clipping, but for a dog that's just mildly uncomfortable, it's a really good method to try. All right, we're going to do bars open, bars closed again, but this time we're going to use my house guest here, Melvin. So I'm going to get him, well, he might just stand. We'll try him standing. Okay, 1, 2, 3, bars open. He's licking. Boy. Bars closed. Melvin. Still licking. Okay, we ready? 1, 2, 3. Bars open. Bars closed. Away. Melvin. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Bars open. Bars closed. Boy. Just a little bit this way. I'll see if I can get another foot. Ready?
1, 2, 3. Bars open. Good boy. Bars closed. The point is to figure out when the puppy's going to get about ready to try to get away and close the bar before that. Because if they start actively struggling or they stop eating the peanut butter, then you've probably gone a little too far. Okay, bars open, bars closed. Super great game and very helpful for a lot of puppies. Highly recommended. Okay, we're gonna move on to stairs. So stairs is one that can be easily messed up. So if you have a stair problem, I recommend that you not try this on your own without involving your area coordinator or regional manager. It is very easy to make a dog feel pressure to the point that they think stairs are something really scary when you think that you're just trying to make them more comfortable on stairs. So a stair problem is always something to be cautious with. The very worst thing that can happen on stairs is that the dogs can get in the habit of pulling on leash as they go up them. The reason that's so bad is because when they pull on leash, they feel like you or I would feel if we were going upstairs and somebody from behind us grabbed the collar of our shirt and pulled us backwards. We'd pull harder and we probably panic a little bit because we feel like we're off balance. So that's kind of how the dog feels when they have a tight leash on the stairs. Now, I know a lot of times the dog is the one doing the pulling, so they're the ones making themselves feel like they're being pulled backwards, but unfortunately they don't really realize it. They know the feeling, and that's what they react to. So when we're talking about stairs, I know a lot of you have heard don't ever lure on stairs because if the dog is afraid, it can make it worse. That is true. If the dog is afraid, it can make it worse. And you'll see on the dog in this video, in the beginning, she was a little afraid to go up the stairs, and I did not lure her in the beginning because I wanted her to make the choice to come on the stairs herself. I could have lured her, but because she was afraid to come up on the stairs, a lure can pressure the puppy to do something they're afraid of. So even though they do it, they don't feel good about it, and then they're more scared the next time. So you'll see that until she's voluntarily stepping onto the stairs herself without a lure, I do not use a lure. I just wait for her to choose and mark and reward it. You have to read your dog correctly. Your hand position is very important when you're using food on the stairs, and you always have to be aware of your own safety too. So if you as a handler have any kind of balance issue, this is not a technique that I would encourage you to try with your dog. There are other ways, or we can have someone else work with the dog. And like I said, you don't ever want to lure a dog that is afraid. With a dog that's afraid, you start with marking and rewarding the choice to approach. And that's another area that can be all full of pitfalls. And so if you have a dog that, sees stairs and like pancakes, lays down flat on the ground or turns around, tries to run away, that's something that you need assistance with. And you should definitely ask your area coordinator or regional manager to look at that rather than trying to get the dog on the stairs. If you try to get a scared dog on the stairs, you can create a really big problem. So if you're at all uncertain, then you should ask for assistance with this. Our end goal is that the dog walks up and down stairs on a loose leash at the handler's pace and stops when the handler stops. And we really don't want them surging over the first or last steps either. So in the past, I know that a lot of times we have put the dog on a long line and let it run up and down the stairs to get comfortable on stairs with a loose leash. And that's still a perfectly good technique to get the dog comfortable on stairs. But it can be difficult to get the dog from that to walking nicely next to your side. So that's what I'm trying to do in this video, is get Sophia to walk nicely next to my side. I do apologize for the wind noise in this. It's really bad. It was a really windy day, but it's a really good example of a dog that was having trouble on stairs and improved a lot in one training session. So you may want to turn the volume down just a little bit. Everything that's important that I say in the video, I think I said here, or I hopefully will remember to say afterward, or I'll stop it in the middle and say it. So here we go, Sophia. Okay, so we're going to work with Sophia today. She has had some issues with not being sure about the stairs, and we don't know how she'll react to these because she has never seen these before. But I will say that if she's afraid of them, I'm not going to use the lure. So if she does anything like avoids them or flattens down when we're coming up to them or looks scared, then using a lure can make it worse. If she's not afraid, if she just wants to bulldoze up the stairs, then we're going to use a lure to slow her down. So let me go get Sophia. Okay. Yes, good girl. So she went right up to them and targeted them. That's good. Yes, good. Now last time we had a problem with her not wanting to bring her back like that. So let me see what we do this time. Okay. So she's still not sure, so I'm going to continue to mark and reward her for approaching the stairs. Yes, good girl. As opposed to luring her, because if I try to lure her here, she'll be more afraid. So I'm going to see if she'll take a step up on her own. Wait for a second. Waiting for me. She's still not actively scared, so I'm going to let her sit here and go back. Yes, good girl. That was good. What a good girl. Come here. So I waited, she took a step, and I marked and rewarded. Again, it's really important I not lure her there because if I did, then she would go, but she would feel pressure, and that would make her feel more scared. Whereas now she's like, look at that. Yes, good. Good girl. We'll see. She drops it and gets it. I'm not going to worry that much about her right now because it's more important to me that she gets to feel comfortable upstairs, right? She's getting ready. What do you think? And does she feel pressure right now? I think she probably feels a little bit pressured. But she's still, I think she's still going to choose to go forward. I think, come on, you're wrong, she might go backwards. So I'm going to make my leash long just in case she decides to go backwards so I don't end up pulling on her. Yes, good girl. Still her choice. I did not learn her. So we're going to go down. Sometimes going down and coming back is really helpful. Yes, good girl. Yay. She went up and then she didn't like how it looked when she went up. I'm going to be really careful this whole time not to let her leash ever get tight because that's where we get a problem. Sometimes if you hold them back for a second and let them build up some anticipation, then it will help you go up. Go. Yes, good girl. Okay, she's still not sure, so we're going to back down. Oh, yeah. Yes, good girl. Good job. Yay. Yes. What a good girl. So down is no problem. Okay. I'm just going to pull up the mask for 1 second. Because it's hard to breathe on this thing. And talk. The mask. Okay. So she's now gone all the way to the top. Get out my tree bag. And it's been her choice to go all the way to the top, not mine. So I think I'm going to let her run up it one more time, like kind of out of control, and mark and reward her. And then after that, then I'm going to lure her to get her under control. Let's go. You can go. It's fine. Pause this. Girl, Sophia. Good girl. Okay, and we'll do it again. Okay, So one more time, I'll let her go fast. And yes. Good job, Sophia. And I know she got ahead of me. It's fine. Good girl, Sophia. Okay, now I'm going to try and learn. Because now that she's comfortable, I need to teach her to slow down and not just be a bull in a china shop. So now they're shaking up. I'm gonna get this. Get down by her nose. So you gotta have it down by their nose before you start going up the stairs. So that's a good girl. Yes. It's good. It's coming down. I say yes, and she stops. Good job. Hey, Kitty. Good job, Sophia. Now, when we're going up, get out of my tree bag. I literally don't have any way to slow her down except for so I don't want to slow down my legs because everything goes backwards. So if you watch my left arm, you'll see that it's completely loose. And I'm completely controlling her with my right hand, which is my right hand. And you gotta start this before you get to the stairs. If you do it as you're approaching the stairs, then they'll already be ahead of you. You gotta start it way back here. Get her back. And get your foot nice and low. See my loose arm? Loose left arm. Yes, good. Girl. It's my workout for this morning. Just kidding, I already did one. The second one. Okay. Here we go again. So loose left arm, loose leash. That's a good girl. I'm just going to let her eat through the treats this time. One, not 10. Girl. Okay, so she's doing a good job following my lower hand up. She's still not 100% comfortable. She's like 80% comfortable. The reason I say it's not 100 is because we can see her hesitate and her head is stretched out her front end. She's not 100% sure about letting her head in. But she's not actively fearful, so I'm still okay with lowering her. Switch to marking. I'm going to take several treats in my hand, which I know we say never to do, but unless you have a reason for it. But I do have a reason here, and my reason is that I need to be able to get the treats from her mouth really fast and I say yes. The reason for that is because if I don't, she might just go up the stairs ahead of me too fast. So I'm going to lure her a couple steps, and I'm going to mark her board, and I'm going to hold position for a second to mark her board a couple more times. Ready, Sophia? Start with a lure. Start with a lure. Go. Yes. Good. Yes. 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 Good job, Sophia. Yes. This is really good too. Just having a hold position on it. Yes. training session, you want to leave them wanting to go back. I think if I walk to this direction, good girl, so come with us back. And that's how we want to end it. So our next session should be here because she wants to go back. Now, she's a little bit stressed, yes, because she was like trying to grab that grass, and I think that was a little bit of stress, but she was still coping very well and holding position nicely and not showing fear while she was holding position. So I still think this was not too much stress for this training session for her.
Okay, so just to be very clear, sometimes it is okay to use a lure on stairs, but you should not use a lure on stairs unless you've been instructed to, and someone is there to help you use the correct technique, because if you don't, it can go south. So it is though an option for some dogs in some situations and can be very effective when done properly. But I just have to say one more time, stairs can be a really big deal. So if you're having a stair problem, please get someone involved and get assistance with it. Don't just let it keep getting worse or trying to get the dog over it. It's probably going to get worse instead of better if the dog's afraid of it. Okay, moving on to our last subject for today. So we're going to talk about martingales. If you have decided with your AC or your regional manager that a martingale is a tool that is appropriate for your dog, I want to make sure that you know how to fit it. It's the right tool for some dogs, not for all of them. It can be very beneficial to a dog, especially if they, for some reason, can't use the infinity collar. The reason why they are effective is that they generally stay in better position than flat collars, which tend to slide down to the bottom of the dog's neck where they have the most muscle. Because martingale collars can fit better, a little higher on the dog's neck, they allow you to give lighter collar cues and the dog can feel it more easily. So when a martingale is properly fitted, that's what it does. We see them improperly fitted all the time. Usually they're too big. The way that you know that they're fitted properly is when you pull them tight, the middle rings, the little piece that gets tighter when you pull on the leash, the middle rings should not touch. So I'm going to show you here an example of me fitting Sammy with a martingale collar. He's a little excited because he hasn't seen me in a long time. Here we go. Ignore the background. We were in front of Publix, and then because there was too much traffic, we moved one storefront down. So we didn't actually have any Fireball. We were just in front of the picture.
Good boy, Heel. Sit. Good job. Sit.
Okay, this is Sammy, and Sammy's getting fit for a martingale. The reason why we use collars or martingales is just to allow us to give a little lighter collar cue, especially for a big, strong dog. So I'm going to show you how to fit a martingale. First of all, it's best, good boy. It's best if you can get a kind that buckles rather than the kind that slips over the dog's head, because this will allow you to get a good fit on it and adjust it to exactly the size of the dog's neck. Right, Sammy? So I'm going to try this on, and I'll show you how to adjust it and how to fit it properly. We'll put it on and see where it is. Sammy's very excited to be out doing something. So right now, you can see the piece that I attached the leash to, I hope you can see, is attached to a little strap that tightens. So if I pull it tight, I don't know if you can see this on camera, but let me just lure him into a stand so I can show you. So if you pull it tight, these two rings should not be able to touch. And right now they are touching, so that's too loose. So we're going to adjust it smaller. I'm going to do this just in case. Yeah. Let's see, we'll just make it, sorry, stay. You don't want this to be super tight, but you do want it to stay in position on the dog's neck. Not too far below his ears, kind of like where the infinity collar strap goes. Let's see. try this one and pull it tight. The 2 rings are still really close to touching, so I'll make it a little smaller. Sit. Good boy. So good. Good thing he's not any bigger. I mean, any smaller. So I think it will fit perfectly like this, but it's down to it's the smallest it will go. Sammy. Good. Okay. Let's see where we are. So now if I pull this tight, these 2 rings are not touching. Hopefully you can see that. It's still not tight. I can still get 2 fingers between his collar and his neck. But the nice thing about this is it will stay higher on his neck. Good boy. And therefore I can give a lighter collar to because he feels it more easily. Right, Sammy? Good boy. Sit. So the advantage of this, wait for the sirens. The advantage of this for the handler is just that it makes it more difficult for the dog to lunge because they feel the pressure on their neck sooner, so they can't get their head down to the ground as easily. Now, if your dog has been wearing this on a walk for like half a mile and you see a dog distraction coming up, it's a good idea to just check and make sure that it hasn't slid down too low on the dog's neck. So the way you can do that is you can take the collar in your right hand and pull it up, and with your left hand you can grab this big old scruff and just kind of slide it up like that and slide it up under there. Good boy. They don't mind. They think it's being petted, so you can scratch their neck too while you're doing it. So now you can see where it sits on his neck compared to where his flat collar sits. So you can hopefully see why it's more effective for controlling distraction than just the flat collar is, because if the flat collar slides all the way down there, which they tend to do, then the dog doesn't feel them so easily because they got a lot of muscle there. Sammy, come here. Good boy. Sit. Whereas if it's up here, it's a lot easier to use. Right, Sammy?
Okay. So I just want to review the Martingale collar. It is an approved collar, but that does not mean it's the right collar for everybody. If you don't use it appropriately, then it's absolutely no more effective than a flat collar. Even though it gets tighter when the dog pulls, if it's low on the dog's neck, the dog really isn't going to respond to it. It's only going to make the neck tougher at the base of the neck when the dog pulls into it. So we recommend that if you use a Martingale collar, just make sure that you know how to use it properly and make sure that it's fitted properly. Not the right tool for every dog. For a lot of dogs, the infinity collar is better if you need something for control, but again, that's something that you and your AC and RM can work out together. So I hope this was useful to you. I will be taking questions. I'm sorry, I know it's a little bit long. I believe the questions will be audio only unless we figure out a miracle between the time I'm recording this and the time that I'm actually airing it. So if you have questions, please let me know. If you ask them in the comments, and I will respond to them later. And thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great week.